Hey guys, welcome to the Revolution Room. Today we're going to be just kind of reviewing some testimony from this aoutopen hearing. Sorry, it's first time I'm streaming. I'm just trying to figure some of this stuff out, so be patient with me. Let's see here. Anybody's welcome to come in and ask questions, share your thoughts. I'm going to try to set some of this up here. I'm talking to you guys. Need to get this set up here. My dang Bluetooth on my headphones is not working on this computer for some reason, so I've got to go with the stupid cord. But that's all right. We'll make it work. Let's see. Let's search into some of this stuff here. I want to... Let's see, how do I share screen? Okay, I got that. Let's see here. I want to go. I'm going to share this screen. Let's see if I can do this.
Query, and it was in that form.
So if the press had questions about President Biden's health, then it would have come up at that meeting.
Not necessarily, but
So
that would be
I've started watching
how it would come up.
most of this,
because
but
of the press perspective.
Do you
pretty
recall
damn
that
boring,
happened?
really.
If it did, very
I
infrequently.
haven't really into much
Do you
as
recall
far as
specific
what I've seen so
No,
far.
because it didn't take over in those meetings at all. Health, what didn't
There we go,
overtake
now
those
full
meetings?
screen. There we go.
One of the questions that I got frequently from press was health questions and age questions. So that was something that we had to deal with for a good portion of his first term or his term.
So any discussions of President Biden's health at these morning meetings, they were only in the context of press inquiries, never anything different than that?
I do not recall having a specific meeting on his health. No.
So
Maybe to be clear, maybe not.
a little bit for us. Let's see. My internet is not working properly, at least on my end. I don't know if it is on your guys's or not. Let's see. Just get rid of that tab. I think I just need to get rid of a few of these tabs here.
Not a meeting that's all about his health, but did his health come up at these meetings in any context?
Not that I recall.
So when you were facing media inquiries regarding the president's health, when would you raise those?
All right.
In a normal
We're going to put a poll up
So,
here.
I think in these
Let's
meetings,
do.
I'm the White House press secretary, so if I get asked, hey, was the press
you
talking about? What's going to be the
trust
focus of your press briefing? That's how it would come up.
the Biden?
I would say, this is what the press is covering. This is the topics that they're into. That's how it would come up.
And to get answers to those questions from the press, would you raise them exclusively in that meeting,
No.
or would it be in other
No.
settings as well?
It was just as I said, this was a check-in. These meetings were primarily check-in, so it was my role is to engage with the press. And so that's how it would come up.
And if one of those questions came up and didn't feel natural, circumstances arise in which you're not bringing it
Yes,
up,
we're going to put
in
this poll up in
that
the
meeting,
chat.
who would you go to?
Go ahead and
to get
get
answers to
thoughts
that
on it.
question?
And just want to step back for a second and be very clear. If there was a shooting, for example, and people were having inquiries, press was having inquiries, did he speak to the mayor? Did he speak to the governor? That would be, it was just in that same vein. I would be asked, okay, what's going on? What's the incoming that you're getting? What's going on in the press? I would bring that up. So that's what I'm talking about, like what press had on their mind. As it relates to my press briefings and how I would take on any incoming questions, the Q&A, if you will, the talking points that came out would come from the comms team, senior advisors, and my press team.
So I don't think that was helpful. I don't think it entirely answers my question. Just if you had a question that you were trying to get an answer for about the president's health, who would you go to?
The press team, the comms team, senior advisors, depending on the question.
Would you go to Mike Donilon, for instance?
So just to lay out a little bit. So the press team, people have a portfolio, comms team, people have a portfolio. And so they would be the ones that would, work with the policy teams or the senior advisor on any topics that were coming up in the briefing room. And then they would come to me. And then we would talk through whatever topics that were going to be coming up in the press briefing room. And that's how it worked.
So who had the portfolio for inquiries regarding President Biden's health?
That was primarily coming from the communications team.
And who on the communications team?
I mean, we've had different people coming through, kind of being part of the communications team. So it was
like
a
I'm
people.
lagging
It was also Anita Dunn, who
on
was
my
part of the
video,
senior
guys.
advisors.
If anybody's in the
want
chat,
to
let
pinpoint
me know.
anybody because there was,
That'd be great.
depending on the timing, depending on what time during the first term or his term.
Would it ever occur to you to go to Ms. Tomasini with a question regarding the president's health?
I did not.
How about Mr. Bernal?
About the president's health?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bernal? No.
How about Ashley Williams?
No, I don't recall doing that.
How about the first lady? Same question.
No.
Did you interact frequently with the first lady?
Not frequently, but I saw her from time to time.
And did you ever have a conversation about President Biden's health or fitness?
No.
So this is bullshit to me because you're telling me that she is
How would Ms. Dunn tell you to
around these people
handle
all the
inquiries regarding
time.
the president's health? Or
The president's health is in the news every day, and no questions, no little
Basically,
offhand
how,
comments come up
meaning, can you be more
about
specific?
the
If there were
president's
any
health.
talking points that stick out to you
I
about
feel like she's
what
already lying.
the message should be regarding the president's health or fitness?
I
coming
mean,
from Ms.
I
Dunn?
was pretty much on the record about the president's health and from my observation. Look, and what I said at the podium is certainly what I believed and what I saw myself, my personal observation as well, which is that he was capable of doing the job. This is a president that had the experience to do the job, cared about the American people, and did it every day, day in and day out, and was able to have some pretty successful legislation and policies to help move this country forward. And that's how we just kept it high level. We kept it on what the president has been able to do.
Kept his dependence change.
Do you think that strategy, delivering that message, was effective, or do you think that there should have been other efforts taken by you or other people in the White House to push back on this story about the president's health or fitness?
Here's what I say. I would say that this is a president where the American people, reporters, whoever was following him, got to see him on a regular basis. This is someone who talked to reporters, in an informal way, taking shouted questions, inquiries from them over 670 times.
But never did a press conference.
He did that pretty regularly.
And when he
People got
did
to
do
see
a press
him multiple
conference,
times a
he was
week.
reading from a
And
notepad.
I think
he could
that reaches a level
barely
of,
do that.
hey, you guys get to see and speak to him, and he takes your question and he's out there.
Then why did this question keep coming up?
That's something for, I think, reporters to speak to. It was a question that came up. We tried to do our best to answer it. The president was out there. People got to see him. People got to hear directly from him pretty regularly. I can't speak to that. I'm not going to speak to a hypothetical that I can't even answer.
Did the frequency of this question increase as from January 20th, 2021 to the end of Joe Biden's term?
I think it was something that was a part of being in the administration. It came up. I can't speak to the frequency, but it was one of the topics that came up often.
It didn't increase after his debate with President Trump.
I mean, you all watch my press briefings, right? So that was a topic certainly after the debate.
I think he's
But
talking about.
Again, that
the
my
interview,
observation has
was it
always
coming
been when it comes to this president.
We all know
President
what
Biden,
the media
that he
was talking
more,
about at the time. Yes, of course they were
more
talking
than
about him and
competent
his
at doing
health, but
the job
I think
each
what
and
he's
every
talking
day,
about,
day in and day out, and I got to see that on a regular
people
basis. That
inside,
was my
were they talking
observation.
about it? Were they
And I hear what you're saying. I'm less interested in what you have to say about whether you believe the president was capable of doing the job. My question is, did you ever see a change in the president's ability to do the job?
We started off part of your questioning about when I first met him in 2009. I think that he's aged. I've aged. Presidents age in these jobs. It is very common. Obviously, he got older. I spoke to that at the podium. He spoke to that about how he's aged. But when it comes to competency, when it comes to being able to do the job, he
These
was
people
more
are
than
such
capable of
lying
doing that.
scumbags.
Did he age? We all do. Yes,
I mean,
he did.
And I understand
They would do well
that we
to
all
have
age.
the
We're
Americans.
aging just sitting in this room right now.
A lot more
Every
Americans
second.
respect
Every
if they
second.
if
But-
just tell the truth.
Um,
Just be honest. At least more than that.
My question is, did you see a change from, in his competency, you brought the word competency, from 2021 to 2025?
I did not see a change in his competency from 2021 to the end of his administration, if that's what you're
Yeah, I
asking.
mean,
So
right
I have
there
that
is a
correct.
bold-faced
So,
lie. I mean, come on.
let's expand the
We
scope
all
even further.
know that
You've
he's
known Joe
crazy
Biden,
and shits his
interacting with Joe
pants.
Biden
Just
since,
admit to it.
on a semi-regular basis since 2009. Is it your testimony here today that Joe Biden's competency is the same from 2009 to today?
What I will say is, when I served with him in the 4 years of this administration, he was more than competent to do the job. This is someone who woke up every morning focused on the American people and delivering for the American people, and that's what I saw.
Until he
I saw
needed his
someone
little nappy
who
poo
cared and did
and
that
dinner at 3 o'clock
in
and go to bed at
in
4.
a very focused way, and that's why I was honored and privileged to have worked in this administration.
And I understand that you believe that he was competent the entirety of his term. I'm asking you, did you see a change in from 2009 to 2025 in Joe Biden's competency?
No, I did not. This is someone who, if you're in a room with him, when I was in a room with him during the administration, when I came in to talk to him about whatever issue that he wanted to know about, this is someone who had a conversation with me back and forth, who was very engaged, who was very aware of what was happening in the press, sometimes more aware than I was. And we would have that discussion. And that was my exchange. And that was what I experienced in the 4 years that I worked for this president.
Do you believe that Joe Biden became a less adept debater from the time that you began knowing him to 2025?
So I will just use his own words. He said himself he wasn't as good debater as he used to be, or he wasn't speaking as well as he used to. That's something that he said. He actually spoke to.
Did you ever have conversations with President Biden about why he wasn't as good of a speaker as he used to be?
I never had a direct conversation with the president about that.
Did you have a conversation with somebody else about that?
I never had a conversation with anybody about that.
Liar.
You
Could not
mentioned you
have
didn't
not had a
recall
conversation
at least,
about it.
noticing that Joe Biden had a stutter when you first met him. But did you notice it at some point, your time in the Biden administration?
I can't remember specific times, but obviously this is something that he was freewheeling and talked about extensively. And I can't pinpoint a moment where I experienced that or could remember. But this is somebody who talked about it, connected with other folks who had stutters. And, again, if you have a stutter, it doesn't mean that you can't perform at a high level.
Certainly. And then
Yeah, I'm going to pause this for a second, guys. Now, this is amazing. You cannot tell me that. I mean, take any normal person working in a normal work environment. I don't care if you don't like talking behind people's backs or whatnot. There is internal talk about other employees in your job. Now, she's saying that she didn't talk to anybody in the staff or the family about this issue. I'm calling bullshit because this was in the news every day, all day, for months and months and months. And you're telling me that didn't just come up even in an offhand conversation? Come on. This is why the American people don't trust Democrats anymore, because they're such liars. They can't even admit to a simple thing as that.
reason
Let's
I
listen to
ask it all is
here.
simply because the fact that he had a stutter was brought up as perhaps a reason for some of his lack of performance in the debate, for example, and other moments. Do you agree with that? Do you think that played a role?
Look, I can't hypothesize or opine what it's like to have a stutter, and what that's not something that I can speak to. I know what you're speaking of. What I know is that he had to work very hard to deal with his stutter, even today, from the time he was young, even today, something that he talked about extensively. Again, just because you have a stutter doesn't mean you can't operate at a high level and be very functioning, and that does not affect your competency.
Certainly, and I agree with you. I only mean that it seemed to be cited as proof that he was not in cognitive decline in any way, that any verbal stumble was simply the result of the stutter.
Again, what I can speak
She's
to
starting
is
to
my
get frustrated
observation.
now. You can tell in her
And this is
face and
somebody
her
that was
facial
more than
expression
competent
is
to do
that
his job. I
He's
don't
really
think,
wanting to run away from this question.
uh,
I'm glad they're sticking to it.
I
I
don't
hope
think
this whole
a
thing is this
stutter,
question
if
she
you
finally
had it
breaks,
or
which
not, if you have a
she
stutter,
won't.
doesn't mean that you can't perform at a high level.
They'll all take this to their
But
graves.
my experience,
We all
my
know the truth
observation,
already anyway.
again, and I said this at the podium, and
But
I
it
will
would be
continue to
nice
say
for
it
them
today in
to
front of all of you,
say it
which is, this is
themselves.
someone who was very active and engaging with me when I had conversations with him.
Do you think that you mentioned that the press was very concerned or brought up frequently President Biden's health or these related issues of his cognitive abilities or fitness to serve? Do you think the American people were also concerned about that?
I can't speak for the whole entire American people. It's not something I can speak to.
Did you ever have outreach from friends or people you knew that were concerned that President Biden was struggling with his health or cognitive abilities?
Not that I recall, not specific conversations.
Did you ever have a conversation with anyone in the White House
In the White House,
where you or they were concerned about President Biden's health or cognitive abilities?
I've never spoken to anybody in the White House about that.
It's such a lie. I mean,
To be clear, you've spoken to people in the White House about that regarding press inquiries. Though.
Exactly, but the question was, right, if I heard the question,
You did.
if people in the White House were concerned, like personally concerned, I did not talk to anybody about that in the White House, about personal concern.
Sure, and you would, I'm not a press person. I don't really know how your job works, but it's my understanding.
You should try it, it's fun.
That
he probably do better than you because you sucked
if
at
you're
it.
receiving outreach from the press about the president's health or ability to serve, you would go to either the comms team, the press team.
So it's not necessarily that I would go. Everybody was watching the news just as I was, right? So people were aware with what was happening in the news. But as the press secretary, when I'm in these meetings, these check-in meetings, I would bring up, hey, this is what I'm going to get in the briefing room. This is, what the incoming that we're having that's coming in from the White House press corps.
Sure, and over the course of your 2 years as press secretary, it's your testimony here today that you never just asked somebody, whether it was one of the senior advisors or the vice president, hey, Steve Ricchetti, is the president okay?
I never had to ask that question because I saw the president on a daily basis, and I never ever thought if I never had that question.
Right. But to be clear, you're not a doctor, correct?
I'm not a doctor, but you're also asking me to make a statement, right, about his health. So, I mean, it goes both ways here. I'm just telling you my observation, right? My observation was this was somebody who was competent. And these are conversations that I'm having, right? These are direct conversations that I'm having with the president of the United States, Joe Biden at the time. And it was always direct. It was always very alert. And, it was a healthy back and forth. So because I had that daily access to him and talk to him, there would be no reason for me to go to a senior advisor to ask the question that you just asked me.
And just to be specific, after the 2024 debate, you never thought maybe I should actually ask a few other people if the president's doing okay.
He said he had a bad night. The president said he had a bad night.
And you never thought to ask why?
Again, this is somebody that I had regular engagement with, and I never had a concern about anything that dealt with if the president could do his job or not. I saw a president that was more than capable to do his job.
So I understand you had frequent interaction with President Biden, but for those in the White House that didn't, were you aware of any of them?
All right, guys, I gotta
You or
click
General
off.
Hospital?
I gotta go
Are you aware
pick
of
my
anybody
daughter up
raising
from
that
dance.
raising concerns about President
This
Biden's
is just
health
the first
with
kind of
another
test live
senior
stream,
advisor?
so
No.
just kind of want to test
So as
it
far as you
out.
know, the White House,
I'm real
nobody
new
in
to
the White
this, so
House
it
had
kind of feels
concerns
to
about
me
the
like my
president's
video
ability
is
to do his job.
lagging.
I'm one person
Maybe you can
out
get a
of hundreds
comment
of people
and tell me
that work
whether
for the
it is or
President of the
not.
United
That'd be
States.
great.
I can only speak for myself and my
Go ahead and
observation
subscribe
and
to the
my
channel.
engagement with
That'll
people.
help me
That's all that I'm
maybe
speaking
get
to.
some picture quality stuff that I can
But you were the
go ahead and
spokesperson
stream
for the
with.
White House, so I would think
Next
that
time,
you might
guys,
have
talk to you later.
an ear for what people in the White House were doing or saying. And